Today, I'm gonna show you how to play this smooth drum fill. So this fill, where did it come from? You guys, some of you drummers out there may already recognize the kind of roots of this fill. I'm going to put it to you. I'm going to give you a couple of hints, and I'm going to put it to you to tell me where you think this drum fill came from. But I'm going to give you a giant hint. In my humble opinion, the roots of this drum fill are from one of the most famous drum fills ever played, ever in pop music, as far as we know. So that's a big hint. Now, what I would like to know is once you identify what this fill is, and as I play it more, you're gonna totally hear it. I also want to ask you in the comments to let me know what you think the second most famous drum fill in the world is, and also what you think the third most famous drum fill in the world is. I have a thought about the second that I'll chime in the comments later. The third, I'm not so sure about. And what I'm looking for is like drum fills that almost everybody's heard, even if they're not musicians or drummers. So anyway, this is based on, you know, the person that played this drum fill that I say is the most famous drum fill in the world. They didn't invent this drum fill, but it's based on that drum fill, right? The way that I was playing it originally, you probably wouldn't recognize its roots that much, but as we play it a little bit more in some different contexts, you're going to hear what I'm talking about. Here's the basic breakdown of what I'm doing. So to start with, I'm playing some kind of unison figure with the hands. Now, unison just means I'm playing at about the same time and trying not to flam. So in the second time that I played it, I played something like this. Something like that, right? Now, that time, isolated without the music, you might start to hear what I would like you to comment about as the most famous drum fill ever. Another thing that I like doing with this fill is orchestrating it differently on the tom. So sometimes I'll play it. I'm a big fan of drum fills that sometimes go up in pitch instead of always down in pitch. So you could do something like this. Right, so I went up and then back down. There's all kinds of variations with this. Now, the fill I started with was with the cymbal and the tom, not necessarily the snare. I just did the unison there for context so you know what we're doing, and then we'll talk about the bass drum. So here it is with the cymbal. Check this out. An important part of that version that I just played is dynamics. So on the cymbal, and this is a little tricky at first. So at its basic level, this is a great fill that almost any beginner can play. If you've been playing for a few months or 6 months and you can play some basic beats, this kind of basic version, I think anyone can play. This version where I'm being very dynamic with the left hand, but keeping the right hand kind of consistent with the toms, that falls under another category and probably another video that I'm going to call self-mixing. It's where you play different dynamics with different limbs. In the case of like a beat where maybe the hi-hat is very soft and the bass and the snare are very loud. And maybe I'll do a whole video on self-mixing in the future. If you'd like to hear that, let me know in the comments. So what I'm doing here is I am building the crash with my left hand. This could be on a ride, this could be on a hi-hat, this could be any cymbal, but I'm building it kind of like this, like. And I'm doing that a little bit with the toms too, but the toms are a little more consistent. They're a little louder like this. Something like that, right? It's basically a series of 16th notes, and we're not going to worry too much about how to count it today. We're just going to talk about memorizing the pattern, right? So if I take this pattern, first take the rhythm. If that feels very foreign to you, take the rhythm in and of itself and think about da 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 da. So that's kind of the next thing to work on with that. It's probably even a little easier with unison than it is with trying to do right, left, right, left, so here's another way to practice it. So da 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 da. That's kind of how I'm thinking about it on the camera. Once you get that down, you can start to move it around a little bit. I was playing around with something earlier today that was like this. So I was using the ride cymbal. You could even do something like this. Here's something I want to throw out there to any of you that are new players. If you can't get this exactly, there are a million variations of this that you can use. If you've never played something in unison before between the hands, forget about the foot for a minute and just play something like this. Idea of unison between the toms and the snare is something that a lot of drummers use. I think back on like Neil Peart uses this a lot. Keith Moon uses this a lot of drummers. It's big in the jazz world. They might do a figure like something like that, you know. There's another version of this, which is a slightly different application, but it's this idea of like building dynamically, like, right? So that in and of itself, you could just take just that fill with or without the bass drum that I just did, and that's a great one to build to the next section of a song. Sometimes it might be coming out of a bridge or into a chorus or something like that. So this idea of unison between the hands is something to play around with. One of the important things you may have noticed that I'm doing in almost all the versions I just did is the dynamic element of it. And this is something to kind of think about and work on as you're doing it. So in the first version, I kind of built up to that big, you know, hit at the end and crash at the end. And then in the version that I did like this, there's sort of a finality there to the end. And then one version I did, I went to a flam at the end on the snare. So it could be like, so this idea of having a build up to something final at the end and thinking about it like almost like soft, la da 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 da, right? It's getting louder and louder and louder. That's a great tool, and you can apply that, by the way, to a bunch of other fills. As far as where we would put this version I'm playing today is kind of this like groovy, almost like R&B-ish kind of retro thing happening, and it's a slow song, and you could do it in so many different things. So let me play that again, and I'll do a couple of different versions of that and a couple of different variations, and then I'll play us out to the outro, and I'll see you in the next video. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button and the notification button. I'm going to start doing these drum fill videos on a regular basis. Hit the notification button so you know when the next one comes out. Let's check this out.